Do you ever feel uncomfortable selling your products or your services? Do you ever feel that you're being maybe a little too pushy or you sound like a sleazy salesperson? Well, if you're uncomfortable selling, I'm going to help you today. My name is Eric F. King, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, definitely subscribe so you get videos like this every single week. So let me give you 4 tips to help you become a master salesperson. I've been selling for many, many years, and my first job, actually, right out of college, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia, and my first job was with Xerox, and I actually sold copiers. And at the time, we were trained to sell the copier and to sell supplies like paper, toner, and things of that nature. But when I started, I wasn't that good. I found it hard to sell the copier. I found it hard convincing someone to buy something that they already have, especially if they've already have a Canon copper or Minolta or, something like that. I found that difficult. So I never even got to the supplies. But then I heard you always want to find a mentor or a coach. So that's number 1, find a mentor or a coach. So what I did is I went up to a guy named Brian. He was the number 1 salesperson in the whole region. And he was number 1. He made the most money. Everybody looked up to him. So I went up to him and I asked him if I could shadow him for a day, which basically means if I could just follow him around and learn what he does. And he said, sure. So I followed him around. So I had my notebook and I had a pen and I was ready to write down all the tips. There are certain words he says or certain phrases, that he'll say that I'm going to write down. So what happened is we started going to these businesses. Some of them were new, some of them are old clients. But what I quickly found out was when we got there, he did not talk about copiers. Believe it or not. He was just making friends. He was making friends with people. He would walk in and he would talk about maybe the picture you have on your desk and say, well, is that your dog? And then they say, oh, I have a dog too. What kind of dog do you have? And they just start chatting. He would talk about his weekend. How was your weekend? And they would just go back and forth. He was just making friends. I had nothing to write down. And then, so he would do this for about maybe 15 minutes, like almost 20 minutes sometimes, just getting to know them. And then at some point, he would ask them about their current copier and start off with something like, what do you like about it? And usually people didn't really like a whole lot about their copier. And then he'll say, what don't you like about it? And oh my goodness, that's when people start saying, it jams a lot, it breaks down, it does this, it does that. And that's when he would magnify the problem and say things like, oh, wow. So when it jams, what do you guys have to do? And then they'll say, well, we have to call them and then we have to wait. And then he'll say, whoa, really? So how does that affect your business? And they're like, oh my God, let me tell you how it affects our business. And he would just ask questions and learn more and more and more about their problems. And then later on, he would take out the order form and then he would say something like, based on what you guys have told me, this is the copier I'd recommend. And he'll go ahead and tick off the copier he would recommend that they buy. And then he'll say, based on the number of employees you have and the problem that you said you're experiencing, this is what I would recommend. And then he'll say, what I'll do for you is I'll go ahead and order some toner for you because you'll probably need like 6 months of toner. So we'll go ahead and order that for you, and he'll tick it off. And then he'll say something like, and you don't want to ever be without paper, right? So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and order you some paper. And we'll do about 6 months worth of that too. And he's taking off all these different items. And at the end, he just passes it over to the guy or the lady that he's been chatting with for like half an hour and say, yeah, now just sign there and we'll have it delivered within a couple weeks. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Look how easy he made it. And I learned my first lesson that I learned from him is in sales, you want to build rapport. You don't want it to be a transaction. You don't want it to be a transformation. instead of them thinking about you being a salesperson, they're thinking about you being a friend that's trying to help them out and transform their life or their business in some way. Wow. I would have never learned that in a textbook. But I learned that day from Brian. And I also learned that you have to have a mentor, someone that's been there before that can teach you the way. Or you can spend years being very, unsuccessful at selling or even just making any money in your business. Number 2, you want to read biographies. Or you can even watch videos now, but read biographies of successful salespeople. And when I say successful salespeople, I'm talking about like business people that are very successful. If you think about people like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, we think about them as CEOs or, captain of industries. But what they really are great salespeople. They are master salespeople, right? So I've read probably over 200 biographies of successful people. And, I talk about them a lot in my videos. And the great thing about reading biographies is you get to find out all the problems they had and how they overcame the problems. So when you have people maybe in your family or your friends telling you that, you should just go back to the job, or why are you wasting time with this business? It's not working out. None of that negativity bothers you because you know of people who have gone through harder situations, have gone through bigger problems, and they still ended up successful. So that's one of the reasons why I read a lot of biographies, okay? And you can watch videos, whatever it is, but you want to consume that information. I'll give you an example. So I read about a guy by the name of Comrade Hilton, okay? He created Hilton Hotels. And I read that at one point, his company was doing so badly that he almost had to close shop. They weren't doing well. He went bankrupt. So he went to his friends and his family and basically was begging them to borrow him some money. He can try again and see if they'll work. So they borrowed him money. He had put this money together, tried it again, and it flopped again, bankrupt again. But he didn't give up. He tried again, and it worked. And the company grew and grew and grew and grew. And now we know Hilton to be a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So when I heard that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can go bankrupt 2 or 3 times and I'm good, right? So that didn't bother me. I never actually went bankrupt, but knew that even if I did, I could still be successful because of the biographies I read, okay? Number 3, you have to sell yourself on your product, your service, and your business. You have to be sold out. You know the benefit and how it helps people, that nobody can talk you out of it. Because here's what happens. When you're talking to people, some people will say no. But then some people will take it a step further. And in order to justify their no, they feel that they have to tell you how bad your product or service is. Sometimes they'll even advise you to stop selling it or to get out of the business totally. And if you're not sold on what you're doing, you will just quit. So you have to be sold on it. And then lastly, you have to be proud of being a salesperson. Yes, you have to say it in your head, I am a salesperson. This is what I sell. Because sales is service. A lot of people think sales is the used car salesman that sells you a car that's going to break down in a couple of days, or a car that you don't need. That's not sales at all. That's not sales. People like that shouldn't even be in the industry. Sales is when you find out about your customers' needs, wants, and desires. You know what their pains are. You know what their problems are. And then you find the product or the service that will solve their problem. That's a salesperson. And once you believe in what you're doing and you're proud about what you do, your sales will go through the roof. All right. So if you learned something today, definitely like, share, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Make it a great day.